Hey, welcome back to this special bonus episode of the Infamous Podcast. I'm Brian. This is Comrade Darryl.
Comrade.
Comrade Darryl.
I would try my Russian accent, but it's not that good.
No?
It's probably better than my McConaughey accent, but not by much.
All right. Comrade. Comrade. Anyway. Hey, so we have a bonus episode for you guys this week. It is our Army of the Dead review. So many new kinds of zombies. Like, that was my biggest takeaway, is like, I did not realize there were such distinct class of zombies. Tons of questions.
That's zombiest. You're trying to say all zombies are alike.
All zombies looked alike. All right, so we're obviously gonna spoil the movie. We're gonna try and not go for an hour, but I'm not gonna make any guarantees there because we do like to talk. Hence a podcast. Anyway, D, how you doing today, buddy?
It's a nice Monday, work day.
Yeah.
No sports though.
I'm excited. It's a 4-day week for me. Because I have Friday off.
Oh. I'm not sure if I'm going to take any days off. I'll probably take some off next week, though.
Because Memorial Day is next Monday.
I keep forgetting that.
So
I mean, just looking at my email earlier, I was like, oh, yeah, we do have Monday off. I do that. I tend to do that. So
I'm doing a rare Brian 4-day weekend, which, I don't typically do. So, but yeah, okay. So let's just jump right into it, as the kids like to say. Army of the Dead, Netflix original, Zachary G. Snyder, starring Dave Bautista. I actually like this.
Yeah. So when I was gonna say, when I wrote my notes down, pretty much after I watched it the first time, I just said Zack Snyder plus zombies, plus heist. Perfect ingredients for entertainment.
Yeah. So this is by far not a perfect movie.
No.
This is a fun movie. This movie looks very good. I want to say congratulations to Zach for not using his typical muddied color palette. It was bright. It was sunny. Even in the dark, you could tell what was going on, what little bit happened in the dark. And yeah. So this has been like a labor of love for him, right? He's been writing the script forever. I imagine he's probably written and rewritten this script like 10 or 15 times.
Yeah, I just wish he would have rewritten it one more time and cut one character out completely.
We'll get to her. So real quick, just kind of the tagline for this. Following a zombie outbreak in Las Vegas, a group of mercenaries take the ultimate gamble, venturing into the quarantine zone to pull off the greatest heist ever attempted. So couple questions about this little tagline that Netflix has out. This isn't following a zombie outbreak. The zombie outbreak has been happening for a while.
Yeah, it's like several years.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's long enough that a president ran and got elected on the I'm going to blow up the zombie zone. Right? Like, I'm going to go straight up Dinosaurus, and I'm going to turn Las Vegas to glass. Anyway. So yeah, it's interesting. It's I don't know. It's fun. It was fun. And here's the thing is I think Dave Bautista is turning into quite the actor.
I won't say quite the actor.
Well,
I will say.
So when I say quite the actor, I'm talking for his ilk as far as professional wrestlers go.
Oh, okay.
So John Cena has the best comedic timing of the three of them, hands down. The dude's hilarious. Dave has the best acting range and chops, and The Rock is just a douchebag. So anyway.
He has his charisma. He has
he does. He's very charismatic, but he's always.
Although I did tell you there were two movies where he actually had better emotional range, or just as good, I should say.
I know.
As Bautista does.
The Tooth Fairy and the Game Plan. I get it.
Wow, that you went. I forgot about those movies.
Yeah, most
Jeez.
people have.
I think he has.
I'll never let him forget that he played a hockey playing Tooth Fairy. So
Yeah.
that was the biggest stretch of that movie, is that The Rock could play hockey. Actually, not even play hockey, that The Rock could ice skate. I mean, he can only do 4 wrestling moves. Anyway, let's not talk about The Rock. Let's talk about the fact that Bautista rocked in this movie. Scott Ward was a pretty interesting character.
Yeah, and the one thing I liked about him is how he always just, for the most part, seemed really calm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had that very low key delivery of lines, unless the situation warranted it. So I like that type of, just calm and cool. Whereas a lot of times you see a character or an actor like Bautista try to be more intimidating in the sense of how he delivers stuff and how he stands. And he was just, he just fit himself into every scene in the sense of, so that's actually, other than that, was probably more impressive to me than one or two, one of his emotional scenes. It was just because this was throughout the movie, and this was consistent.
There was this one really emotional scene near the end, and the dude from Screen Rant who does the pitch meeting nailed the reason for that scene. With what's her name, Anna
Kate.
No, it was.
No.
Maria.
Oh, you're talking about with Maria.
Maria,
yeah. Yes.
Where they took the time out where she professed her love, just so we could care about her long enough for her to get her neck broken, and it made me think of the whole Jenny Calendar thing in Angel, where he broke her neck and he didn't feed from her. The zombie did not bite her; he just killed her.
Yeah.
Or and so But yeah, so I let's go down through the characters real quick. Let's just do a character rundown. So we had Scott Ward, Dave Bautista. He's the leader of the group. Former mercenary, now burger chef. You had
that just makes no sense.
Right.
Okay.
Right. You had his daughter Kate, who should have been snapping right out of the movie, who is a volunteer for the World Health Organization and just a pain in everybody's ass. Omari Hardwick, who I think probably stole the movie in a lot of ways, as Vanderohe.
Yeah, he was actually the one I wanted more of.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we have Maria, who we talked about, who was a friend of Scott's and a mechanic. And then Theo Rossi showed up. It's always good to see him and things. But just like Juice, he's a little weasel in this one too.
Yeah,
and if you notice, he had the Juice season 6, season 7, slick back hair and the little porn stash. So maybe this Juice didn't die. He just became this douchebag, abusive rapist security guard. My other favorite character was Ludwig Dieter, the German safecracker.
Yeah. Oh, I really liked him. I liked him as I actually liked him as, with that comedic timing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll have to say one of my favorite characters was in it only for the intro, and that was the soccer mom. Yeah. I wanted to see more of her. Yeah. Her name's Danielle Bergio. I want to see, and again, I will get into the movie, but one of the things I want to see is that Lost Vengeance prequel with, Bautista and Vanderohe, and soccer mom, and Maria, all of them, and how they took, and I guess you would say the containment of Las Vegas.
Yep.
That's a movie I want to see.
Yeah. And then we had Lily, who was the coyote. She was a cool character too.
Yeah, she was solid.
She had a lot of different side deals going on during this whole thing, right? She was pretty cool. And then we had Scorpion as Bly Tanaka, who orchestrated the whole thing. Garrett Dillahunt as Martin, who was his head of security. And then Tig Notaro, who wasn't as bad as I thought she was going to be, but she's still pretty insufferable.
Well, I don't know if you noticed the thing that took away from her performance is that she was pretty much CG'd in literally in the movie because was Chris D'Elia was originally cast, and then everything came out about him, which I don't even know what all came out, but and for the most part they do a good job of you not being able to tell, but there are certain scenes where you see the CG, and then there are other scenes that it would have worked better if you would see two people on the screen at the same time, and you never do with her. But I thought she did fine. It's just the circumstance, I think, took a little bit away from her performance.
Honestly, they should have just left Chris D'Elia in because he's hilarious.
I don't know. Like, I know that name, but I'm trying to figure out what I've seen him in.
He was in, I mean, he's a stand-up, right? He's a stand-up comedian. He was on Whitney Cummings' show Whitney. He was on that show Undateable. And then he's just made a bunch of like little cameos in movies and stuff like that, but he's mostly just a stand-up comedian.
Oh, okay. I just looked him up real quick.
Yeah. Anyway, so where were we? So we were at Tig, and then we had Raul Castiello as Guzman, who was actually kind of a cool character. I wasn't sure because he seemed like a social media influencer, right, but like, you know, he got it done when he needed to. And then Chambers was his right hand woman. She was great too with what little we got of her. The only problem with her is she kind of put everything out there and like had no chill.
And a fun fact about her is that, and where did I read this? It might have been in the trivia or something like that, but she's wearing, like, her get-up is almost identical to that of Vasquez in the movie Aliens.
Oh yeah.
Which I didn't realize that I read that, and then when I watched it again, I was like, oh yeah, I totally would not have gotten that. So I thought that was pretty cool. And they try to kind of mimic, some of Vasquez action sequences, and mold and kind of translate them to her Chambers, which I liked her.
I see that now. I didn't get that either. So, and then we had Zeus, the Alpha Zombie King, the Queen, the Alpha Zombie Queen, and then Michael Cassidy.
Again, in a short role.
Yeah. You may know him from the OC. To me, he'll always be Julian Luther, Lex Luthor's whiny younger brother, not brother, on Smallville. Also, Grant Gabriel was the name of that character too, as Sergeant Kelly. But he was one of the Alpha Zombies there at the end, wasn't he? Because the one was wearing dog tags.
Yeah, I thought he was.
But it wasn't him. Also, I think it was the same character. It just wasn't him.
Yeah.
Also,
just a fun fact, he was also James Olsen.
Oh, yeah.
In Batman v Superman.
Yeah. So.
And he had a little bit more screen time, I think, in this one than he did in that one.
Well, considering he didn't make the final or the theatrical cut of the film, yeah, you're right. So anyway. All right, so this movie opens up with a convoy leaving Area 51, and it runs into a car where the dude is getting roadhead.
The car runs into it,
yeah,
to be
fair.
Sorry,
yeah, the car. Well, here's the thing, did you notice that they just dodge out of the way and let the truck get hit? Like, I thought the whole point for that convoy was to, like, just bust through so that the truck would stay safe.
Yes.
Of course,
that's a very good point.
That guy driving the Humvee was kind of a dipshit when it came to everything, because like when Sergeant Kelly was like, "Dude, we gotta go," and he's like, "No, we're fine. We're far enough away," and it's like, "Yeah, you're 3, 2, dead."
Yeah, and again, that was one of the things I had. And like you said, this movie is far from perfect. There are a lot of nitpicks which are more eye-rolly, and there's nothing that really killed the movie for me. Well, there was one character that almost did, but like just little things like how there was a lack of urgency when the dispatcher told him she was like, get the fuck away from this stuff. And he was just like, hey guys, we're not supposed to be here, instead of saying, hey dude, let's go. And no questions.
Yeah.
And so that was a little bit, and yeah, you're right, where the guy was like, I think we're far enough away. But yeah, that was a pretty decent intro, but the real intro for me was after that, after, you know, the driver gets his lower jaw removed.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was gnarly. And Cassidy gets bitten. The scene of everything going on, and I love how they start it with the Elvis impersonator playing the piano.
Yeah.
And then you see all the chaos going on behind him. And again, the traditional Zack Snyder slow motion on top of slow motion.
You know, it was also kind of a little like Guy Ritchie-y a little bit with that scene, with some of the way that the camera would pan around on the slow-mo. I mean, it was still very much Zack Snyder, don't get me wrong, but
yeah.
No, that was a great scene, and seeing everybody turning, and then we got like kind of the prequel to Bautista and his crew.
Yeah, that's
wiping out
Lost
zombies.
Vengeance.
Yeah, is that what that is?
Yeah,
is that something else that's coming out? Because there's like a whole universe being built around this movie now. Because why not, right? You can't just have a one-off like cool ass movie.
Yeah, so they didn't really say what everything was about. Like the prequel is, you know, Bautista's character, Maria, I think Vanderohe or
Vanderohe.
Yeah, Vanderohe is in there, and then Mr. Sofia Vergara is in there as well.
Joe Magliano.
Yeah,
Mangello.
And since we could pretty much say what happens to his character, considering that
he's not there. Yeah.
Not this one.
Maybe he's the alpha zombie.
But yeah, I'm really curious to see what happens on these prequels, because this one, that prequel is an animated movie.
Okay.
And then you have the one where
there's
Dieter is going to be
Army of
I think
Thieves.
he's going to be directing.
Yeah, it says he will direct and star, which will take place before the events of Army of the Dead, and focus on Dieter. The film will also star Natalie Emmanuel, aka Khaleesi's little buddy there. I can't remember her name from Game of Thrones now. Missandei, thank you, Brian. Yes. And she's also Megan Ramsey from the Fast movies.
Yep.
Because remember, at the end of Fast 8, she tries to tell them what's her last name. And we know this, but the characters don't know that her last name is Ramsey. So, but, you know, Tyrese and Ludacris are both idiots, so they'll never figure that out. But, so, yeah, Guz Khan, Rubio Fee, Stuart Martin, Jonathan Cohen, you know, among other people. So, yeah, that began development in October. Filming wrapped December 2020. So, it was maybe a 6-week shoot. And you're correct. The anime style of Army of the Dead Las Vegas is what it says here. Will center around some of the characters from Army of the Dead during the early phase of the zombie outbreak.
So I guess that's going to be my Lost Vengeance.
Yep.
Which, again, I like animated style movies. So one of the movies I've told you about a dozen times.
It's a series, not a
yeah.
movie.
Okay.
Sorry.
But Train to Busan is one of my favorite zombie movies, and there is actually a animated prequel that's on Amazon Prime, and I don't recall the name of it. And it works. So hey, I don't mind this, because again, I really enjoyed this movie for what it was.
Is Train to Busan on Amazon?
It was. I don't know if it still is.
That's one I need to watch.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I have not watched. I've yet to watch that one. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, the movie was released in theaters for on 600 theaters. It made $780,000. So, you know, it was projected to make 1.5 to 2 million based on pre-sales. But let's be honest. we're never going to see another $1 billion movie again. So if this movie in one day, one weekend, made $780,000, all right, sure, it had a $70 to $90 million budget, but Netflix doesn't care about that.
Yeah, and let's be honest too. It did not get much fanfare as far as being out in theaters. I didn't realize it was going to be out in theaters until maybe 5 or 6 days before it did. So
I didn't realize that was out in theaters until I pulled up the search to find the Wikipedia entry.
Yeah.
So but yeah. So all right, the characters, they're all kind of. It's funny. I think he went out of his way not to just make them caricatures.
Yes.
For the most part.
Yeah, because Vanderohe is a philosophy. He has a degree in philosophy, which I missed that before when he's holding up the picture. But when you're listening to him talk and how he talks about things, it makes total sense why he talks the way he does.
Oh yeah. So, and then there was the Dieter with the safe cracking as an art was really cool. Like I said, I thought the Nora Lily, the coyote, was a very like multi-layered character. And then you had Chambers, who was like no chill, right? She gets caught. She literally gets caught in a trap. Not just to quote the Elvis song there. But she was caught in a trap from Gareth Dillahunt's Martin, and she fights her way out, only to have nobody help her.
And again, this is one of those scenes where there was plenty of time for people to help her. Mm-hmm. There was plenty of time actually for her to roll out, because when she gets out of there's no zombie in front of her.
No,
she could have just done a roll and roll to safety.
But
so that was one of those things. And again, movies do this a lot, where when they want something, impactful to happen, and they don't do a good enough job building it to the point where it makes sense in the movie. If she would have been surrounded, that would have made sense. But the way they shot it messes up that suspension of disbelief, which again, we're talking about zombies and all that. But again, when you say suspension of disbelief, you're talking about in that particular world. We're not talking about the real world. So in that world, zombies exist. In that world, these badass people are looking for, trying to get into a safe and get $200 million. So in this world, the way they shot that, it did a disservice to the scene and the impact a little bit, because again, there was plenty of opportunity to help her.
Yeah. Yeah, not only that, but like just I mean, you're right. There was just a ton of opportunity there. I also thought that, the trap that Nora ended up walking into from Martin was kind of out of character for that character.
Yeah.
I've trusted you you trusted me one too many times. And of course, then there was the old switcheroo.
Yeah. And again, I think it was one of those things where I was doing stuff like when I first watched it. So there were little things like that. I saw when she lifted that up, and I remember thinking, like, what is she going to do with that? And I must have turned away, because one of these things this movie does a lot is it brings in and out of focus in the foreground and background when they want you to concentrate on something.
Well, it's almost like this movie was filmed using portrait mode from the iOS camera app, where you can control that field of vision and you can keep it really shallow. Yeah. So I don't know. Interesting. Just like it was just fun. It was just a fun little stupid movie. Like, this is the type of movies that they need to release in theaters right now. There was no politics in this. There was no, everybody was just equally available to be killed.
Yes.
So, But the plot armor on these characters was very thin. In some cases, paper mache.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed, actually. They were like, you realized when they first got in. I mean, during the whole little like, I'm gonna rock the world on fire montage, there, zombie killing montage. Like, you kind of got it. You thought that the soccer mom and the daughter were gonna get away, and no, they get smashed by the shipping container.
Yeah.
Which was a fantastic way to start the movie.
And that was a perfect example of how they framed that scene where there was nothing they could do to help her.
Right.
And that's what they needed to do with Chambers, which let's not be remiss and not talk about that action sequence of her trying to fight her, or not trying, but fighting her way out. That was very well done.
Oh, yeah.
In a tight, cramped space, just with a knife and a handgun.
Well, and how smart she was, too. Just like, okay, this zombie's starting to move, stab. This zombie's starting to move, stab. And it wasn't until, like, just a, happenstance pan falling on the ground that woke it all up. So, but all right, let's talk about the classes of zombies here.
Which, again, very interesting.
So you have the alphas, and we'll actually talk about the alphas last. But you had the dehydrated zombies who stayed out in the Vegas sun, dried up, but then would reanimate when the rare times that it rained and they were rehydrated. You had the hibernating zombies who were just in the dark, just, all the lights are out, I'm gonna go to bed. You had the mindless, what they called scuttlers, that would just eat anything warm. We learned. You had the animal zombies with the tiger and the horse, and God knows what else. You had the kung fu zombies.
Yeah, those were I don't know. The question I have is, were those the fast / specialists, or were they on that level of alphas?
I don't know. They didn't explain that well enough. I like to think they were the alpha bit, a bunch of Cirque du Soleil people.
But yeah, how many movies do you have zombies that are, going hand to hand with special forces
and are parkour experts?
Yeah.
So,
which funny in the Netflix behind the scene, that's exactly what they did. They hired a lot of guys, people who were parkour and free runners, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. And then we had the alphas. In Zeus, the Alpha King was a very interesting zombie character. He didn't talk, but he communicated a lot. If you get my drift, He was smart. He was capable. He wore a metal helmet to cover his head.
Which that in itself was something you've not seen in a zombie movie.
Well, and it's because I don't think he was a zombie.
And that's a very, very, and I didn't think about that until watching it again and paying more attention to it and where they were coming from.
Area 51.
Yes. Had me wondering, okay, this is not a genetic experiment. This might be an extraterrestrial type situation.
And so with some of the alphas, when they were shot, like this blue goo came out of them.
Yes.
And then when Martin takes the queen's head, which was a crazy scene. He got her with that little bolo rope and then, piano wired her head off. When the alpha takes her body back, or the alphas take her body back, they cut out like a little blue goo baby.
Yes.
So, is it like that character in Men in Black where it was just the little alien guy driving the robot body? But in this case, it's a little parasite that grows and drives the human body in the case of the alphas. And that's why they're so smart and capable.
damn it, these are the questions I want. And again, that was one of those big questions as far as wanting to, or not just questions, but wanting to see more about this whole cast zombie system and the alphas, the origin, and who knows, we might get that in that prequel series.
I'm gonna be
That's good.
honest. I like just asking the question and not knowing the answer.
Yeah.
This is great. I love that they didn't
Yeah.
spoon feed me some bullshit story about, oh well, in Area 51 in 1942. You know, no, it was like, okay, we don't know what's back there. It could be this. It could be that. It could be Amelia Earhart still alive. You know, I mean, that's the beauty. This is the reason I enjoyed this movie as much as I did, is that it did not spoon feed me.
Yeah, and I liken it, and this is like when it comes out of my mouth, it's going to sound weird. I liken it to Peter Parker's appearance in Civil War. You know, we've had how many renditions of Peter Parker in the comics, of the Spider-Man, two Spider-Man, you know, series, and we always get the Uncle Ben thing.
There's 3 origin stories we never need in comics again: Spider-Man, Batman, Superman.
Yeah. And I loved how instead of, and again, it might have been because they were forced to, because he's a character that's going to be introduced, dropped in the middle of the movie.
Right.
We don't have time to do that.
Right.
But it was still, and to your point, we don't need that. And one of my favorite is almost a trope now in TV shows, and they use it every now and then in every TV show, I believe, is where it's like that in media race where you'll get dropped off in the cold open, you'll see what's going on, and then they'll flash back to 48 hours earlier or something.
Right. Oh yeah.
I like that. And this was kind of like,
that was the thing that annoyed me the most about Battlestar Galactica, is they went to that trope way too often.
Well, yeah, you have to do it right. You can't. There are times shows do it way too often, but like if I get one of those in a series, maybe once a season, that's fine by me. But yeah, it's gotten to the point where that's why I called it a trope, because when it first started, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And now pretty much every show uses it.
Yeah.
But I like, to your point, talking about not getting the origin of who Zeus is or where he came from or whatever. We kind of got that in the sense of, okay, this convoy is carrying this thing and to wherever they were carrying him, and we don't know that origin.
Right.
And that's what that is what kind of drew me in the first place.
Who were they taking him to? Like, you know, there was all that. My other favorite thing was everybody thought that the zombie queen, what we find out was the zombie queen, was his homage to Wonder Woman. Do you remember seeing all those posts about that? When in reality, she was just a showgirl.
Yeah.
She was a showgirl that Zeus took a shining to and made him her bride. Made her his bride. And he loved her. You could tell he loved her. Like, they didn't have to have words. You could tell by his actions. You could tell by the response. The Alpha's makeup was great.
Yes.
It was great. I mean, all the zombies looked good. But the Alphas, like they did a great job showing how different they were. You know, is that a zombie in a cape? Yes. Yes, it really was. Like, at first I was like, when he pulled the mask down, I was like, is that a Captain America mask? Is Zack Snyder throwing shade at Marvel and Marvel fans?
Well,
zombies?
when I first saw it, the first thing I thought was Phantom of the Opera. Because it was kind of like that half mask almost.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, it was a zombie in a cape.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, it was really good. It had a great like climactic scene. You had the bit where you kind of thought they were gonna get away and they didn't, and you know, again, nobody was covered with plot armor except Vanderohe.
Well, not just him.
Well, yeah. So we'll finish on we'll finish on a sour note.
Well,
so Vanderohe. Sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say Vanderohe was covered with vault armor.
Yeah, vault armor. So he became a character from Fallout, literally. He gets locked in the vault during like the big scene by Dieter, and Dieter saved his life, hands down. because he had saved Dieter's life like 4 times up to that point. And so he comes out of this vault, and he's got the money, what money was left in there. And he's walking through where albeit a low yield nuclear warhead had just gone off. But like he gets to real world and he's not covered in, lesions and bits of hair and skin falling out, like badly in need of iodine. So yeah.
And I will say, and I think I told you this, the only saving grace for that is the fact that at the end, after he's going to Mexico City with his winnings.
Yep.
He realized that he was bitten.
Earnings. He earned that. He worked hard. He worked hard to get that money.
Oh yeah, so, that's true.
Like winning doesn't sound like he went through what he went through to get that. Sorry, go ahead.
Which, by the way, I was how disappointed were you that he didn't get to use that saw other than in that intro scene?
I wasn't surprised. I really wasn't. And when they talked about that on the Screen Rant pitch meeting, it was like, yup, that's about right. That's the thing I laughed the hardest at. No, you're right. Like it would have been nice to see him use that, like, and take out, I don't know, maybe the Alpha.
Yeah, or at least one of the Alphas.
Yep.
Something. So. But going back to that, the only armor that I could say is that when he found out he got bit, maybe somehow that protected him from, especially if we're talking about something extraterrestrial.
Yeah. Well,
that could
what if that's
absolutely
the reason
have protected
he didn't
him.
Turn right away too? Is like all that nuclear, all that radiation is gonna keep him from turning. Maybe he just got bit. Ooh, maybe he's gonna be like Blade. He's gonna be like the Daywalker version of an Alpha. He's like he's still a person with all their strengths and none of their weaknesses, and he can take shots to the head and just keep on going.
It's funny. I'll have to tell you after we record. I have a very funny story about that.
Okay.
But yeah. So, and the other, do we want to talk about the other character?
I mean, Kate was awful. Just hands down. You could tell she was the Adrian Balboa wet blanket of the movie. The minute you met her, even before you knew who she was.
Yes.
So.
Yes. And so the idea is that she is Scott's daughter, estranged daughter, I guess you would call it, because there is a very emotional scene, a flashback or it's actually a nightmare he's having where he actually has to kill his wife, who's trying to get to her daughter, which again, that's talking about Bautista's acting range. That was a very well done scene. He really surprised me there in the sense of, it was like, I don't know, have you ever seen the movie Maggie with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Maybe not. I don't remember.
It's a zombie movie with Abigail Breslin as his daughter who gets infected. I watched that and I was blown away at his performance in that movie. I mean, absolutely blown away.
Interesting.
Like the depth of emotion that he gets to in that movie.
Yeah.
It's something I never would expect it from him, ever. You should check it out. It's a really good movie. It's called Maggie. It came out probably like 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
But that's how Bautista was in that scene, and like in the sense of actually buying what he was selling in that scene. So, evidently what happens is they become estranged because he can't deal with what he had to do, and he basically stops becoming a father. So while it's understandable her attitude towards him, it's just everything else involved and what she does to compromise the mission, which really really bugged me.
Yeah, I mean, she was just constantly like, oh, I'm gonna just mess this up. It's like, oh yeah, okay,
and knowing that you have 20 minutes to get out before the nuke drops, you're going to go a quarter mile down the road into a hotel, a massive hotel, and search for someone who you don't know is alive or dead.
Right.
Knowing that other people are going to be looking for you and putting their lives on the line for you.
She don't care.
That is the epitome. That type of selfishness is one of the big ways for me to just despise a character.
Yeah.
It's especially a character that is not necessary in the film.
No,
if she was necessary for some reason, and that selfishness played into the events and how they turned out. Well, this does, but not in the way that I'm talking about, but important to all the other characters, their other arcs and all this stuff. Okay. But her selfish one, if they would have cut every scene with her out, they could have focused more on the alphas. They could have focused more on, the team and just the team building. We could have gotten more of Vanderohe and Dieter. We could have gotten more of Ward and Scott and Maria.
Yeah.
But instead, we have this Kate who brings nothing to the movie.
Well,
as a character.
I feel like that was Zack Snyder's like self-insert of just the bitchy little girl who's worth. Oh wait, no, hold
on. Well, yeah,
she was just a trope. She was unnecessary, and like I don't think Ava Purnell is a horrible actress or anything like that. I just think it was a poorly conceived character.
Well,
and it wasn't very well written, and that it was the major glaring kind of bad part of the movie.
And Zach has done this before, and I think you know who I'm talking about, an actor that we both like in other things, and we absolutely despise the character that he played in one of Zach's other movies.
Yeah, Henry Cavill as Superman.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, I'm drawing a blank.
Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor.
I love Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, I do too.
Like I low key am like I'm like a low key Jesse Eisenberg stan, right? Like I love watching him in movies. 30 minutes or less, him and Aziz Ansari have some of the best like buddy cop chemistry that we've seen in a long time in a movie. The art of self-defense.
Oh
is
man,
amazing.
that was so good.
It's amazing. Yeah. It was one of my two favorite movies last year. And I actually just recently rewatched it. But yeah, no,
Zombieland.
Well,
and
yeah,
that goes without saying.
Yeah, I mean, Zombieland is. I think Zombieland is probably his best movie.
I mean, he was great. So
he made Mark Zuckerberg seem like a human-ish in the social
instead
network.
Of an alien,
instead of whatever the hell he is. But yeah, so no, you're spot on. Like Kate, not a good character. Not worth the screen time. Like it really easily could have been like Maria knew Lily, right? Or maybe Chambers or not Chambers. Guzman knew Lily as a coyote.
Something.
Like that would have made a little more sense. And they bribed, Burt, Theo Rossi's character, into meeting her, or getting onto the base to see her. The other kind of nitpick I had is how easy it was for them to get through, and it was one solitary 2x4 that separated humanity from a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, considering that they had cargo shipping containers around most of the city
and
parts of the city.
Smart those alphas were, and how they showed like these zombies can sniff out like food.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Those were my two. Kate and that were my two big.
Well, my other nitpick, and it makes for good visuals, but every single person on here was like looking like boom headshot experts.
Yeah. Well, but we don't know how long the zombie apocalypse had been happening, right? So they very well could be trained to because there weren't any like a lot of like there wasn't a lot of like range fighting here. They were relatively point blank.
Yeah. Well, no, still like when Kate was in the hotel and the zombies are all the way down. I know they were running towards her. But, and again, these are zombies. You're talking about how smart they were. They was. Okay. English language, please.
Words are hard, Darryl. Words are hard.
Where you were talking about, because when Martin takes the, bolos up the queen and that other alpha with her.
Yeah.
And he's running side to side and Martin can't hit him.
Right.
Which I thought that was a really cool addition to showing how intelligent these zombies are. They're not running in a straight line. The guy was like, "No, you can't hit me," and he was hitting him. But
serpentine.
Yeah.
Like everybody yelled at poor Rick and Stark as he ran through the field.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway,
yeah.
So, all right. Yeah. The other thing was when Lily dropped the queen's head. That was freaking cool. Like the way it just kind of like flattened out and everything came out of it, and it was like, oh, someone can wear that as a mask. So, like the whispers in The Walking Dead would have been like, oh, that is sought after. But yeah. All right. So we're at 46 minutes. We've gone 16 minutes over our half-hour goal. So out of decapitated.
Words are hard, Brian.
Words are hard, Darryl. Very hard. Okay. Out of 10 decapitated queen zombies.
I give this a 7.5. It was one of those that is just, again, it's so enjoyable, so much fun. And like one of the things I sent you that video about Chris Gore talking about why so many movies suck now.
I haven't watched yet. So
it was one of the things he said, you're here to entertain me,
yep,
not to lecture me.
So.
And this was the quintessential entertaining movie. That to what you said earlier, as far as this would have been a good movie to see at the theaters.
Yep.
I would have liked this. Who knows? I might get a wild hair up my ass and like one time this week and just go see it in theaters.
I'm off Friday. See. Maybe I'll go see it Friday. Yeah, no, this is the cool thing about this, right? And I'm going 7 out of 10. Not to be like, differentiating or anything like that. But I like talking degree of difficulty. I think 7 is as high as I would have gone with this movie.
This is the second time you've done that with something. I like I like the way that you're kind of saying, hey, based on this and based kind of like how they do in gymnastics or diving, this is how high. This is as far as you can go, and I like that.
I mean, it's a simple movie. It really is. Like what was it? What did we just watch that over? Where Jupiter's Legacy overcomplicated everything. This took the zombie narrative and added some complex aspects to it, but it was just really a simple movie. There are people who are going to steal money from a vault that they should have been given the code to.
Yes.
And they were never meant to make it out. That was obvious from the moment Scorpion was like, oh, yes, so, I already got the insurance money, so now I want this money tax-free, except for I'm going to give you a quarter of it. Like, as soon as he said that, I'm like, okay. None of these people are meant to make it. But it was fun. It looked nice. This is what a summer, like, early summer quote unquote blockbuster movie should be. Pre-pandemic, again, like I feel like a 7 is the top for the degree of difficulty for this. But pre-pandemic, this movie probably makes $300 million domestic.
Yeah.
And probably another
so.
$180 million overseas. Just because I don't think this plays well in other parts of the world. But I mean, it's a fun movie. It's gonna be rewatchable. I saved it to my list on Netflix, so I'll definitely watch it again. I didn't watch it a full second time. I just kind of cherry picked scenes for things that I felt like I missed a little bit. And like I missed that little baby coming out of the queen the first time. So
I did too. I must have.
I went back,
walked out or something.
Well, we were at my in-laws for my nephew and my father-in-law's birthday, so I was not paying as much attention because the little one kept coming near me and I needed to throw him around. So anyway, but yeah, like, yeah, no, I don't like, and I'm whatever, 7.5. That's great for you. But for me, like I said, like I felt like this lived up to what it needed to live up to. And the best this movie could do in my eyes was a 7.
Yeah, that's
So,
totally. I actually like just the way you're thinking about that now.
Yeah, well,
like the degree of difficulty.
So, like, for the last 4 years of reviewing movies, I mean, like, we're coming up on 6, or the 6th anniversary of the show next month, or well, a little over a month. I've always said, like, I've always ranked movies based on the movie, not like how they stack up against each other. And,
right.
And so, like, the more I've been thinking about it, it's like, oh no, this is the right way to measure a movie. It's what is the ceiling for this movie, and how close did it come to it?
Yeah.
And I felt like this was a fun movie. It was enjoyable. I liked it. I thought it looked nice. I thought technically it was done well. I think, if anything, this proves my point that Zack Snyder should be a director of photography and not a full director. But
this is his first credited role as director of photography.
Yeah, right on. I mean,
which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah. So, but yeah. Anyway, well, we went way over a half hour.
Yeah, but we didn't hit an hour, so
we do like to talk. So, anyway, yeah. On that note, this has been the bonus review of Army of the Dead. Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Go buy a shirt from Brad at Flying Pork Apparel. Go to infamouspodcast.com and click on the shop button and buy a shirt. They're awesome. There's a new one coming out soon. All right. Any last words?
Nope. That's it.
All right.
I think everybody should give it a watch.
Yep. Give it a watch. And then go to Flying Pork Apparel and buy a shirt. Talk to you later. The Infamous Podcast is recorded in Kings Mills, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati. You can find new episodes every Sunday on Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcast, our website, or anywhere podcasts are downloaded. This show is hosted by Darryl Jasper and me, Brian Tudor. To find more information about the show, visit us at infamouspodcast.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Infamous Podcast to keep up with the show. We also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/infamouspodcast. We have some great rewards for our patrons and are looking for help to grow the show to bring you more of the content you want to hear. Music for this podcast is provided by Michael Henry from meetmichaelhenry.com. So, whenever you're listening to us, have a great day, night, evening, weekend, whenever it is, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.